Welcome, everyone, to Blood and Iron, Dead Man's Hand. Where we had left off last time, our coterie members, Dead Man's Hand, had found themselves at a hospital. A hospital they knew to belong to their recently appointed primogen. And for Shriek, it's a bit of a known haven for a select group of individuals stored in a basement, dark and away from prying eyes. A storage facility of sorts, of vessels that could be fed upon into perpetuity, given they don't die. Vampires would call it the circulatory system. Humans would call it a travesty and an atrocity, worthy of destruction. Which, in a way, is why the Second Inquisition arrived. To raid this place, to free the hostages, as it were, to destroy any kindred who might be lingering around. The consequences of which are still yet to be discovered. And one of the first things that is to be held in the night of the aftermath of this event is a meeting of the board. The board of Ventru. The ones who consider themselves the backbone of all Camarilla dealings. From Seneschal to Primogen to powerful players to the recently embraced children. All Ventru are present in this meeting. Some faces, Dorian, you recognize, such as your sire, such as Mr. Singleton, such as Jade Kaufman, of all people. You've met the Seneschal once or twice. You've met the Ventru Primogen maybe once. But here is where the true discussion of the goings-on of the Dallas and Fort Worth area really take place. What is a prince without his seneschal, and what is a Nosferatu without a Ventru at his back? Or so the propaganda goes. So, you, along with Jade and Mr. Singleton, are sitting at one of the ends of the table, furthest away from the Seneschal and the Primogen. Primogen Wagner obviously has a lot to say in introduction, as, well, she has a lot going on in her own domain. Your sire remains mostly quiet, as she does not have a whole lot of power relative to the other Ventru in this particular meeting. So, Mr. Resner, what are your thoughts as you listen to those who hold the true powers and the true keys to this city?
Frankly, I'm just trying to soak it in. They probably have some kind of question about some of the dealings that I've been doing, or want clarification on something that I'm involved in. But a lot of these people, they know and deal with things way above my pay grade, and I'm just going to do my best to act proper and not embarrass my sire.
Probably your sire's most important lesson is to listen. Truly listen to those around you, whether your peers, whether your elders, and understand the desires of each one, even if the desires are not explicitly spoken. Nicholas, as you listen to him, you learn to be a man who has a lot of control in the underground. The little wars between gangs he's fully aware of, even has some stake in each one of them. A drug bust here, but the gaining of power there. The underworld doesn't move unless he directs it. You feel that there's a lot to be learned from that particular situation. Father McCree, you learn, is a man who puts a lot of stock into the people. He invests a lot of time and energy in making sure that the people of the downtown area of Dallas are well fed in every sort of way. As a minister, he feeds their spirituality. As a kindred, he makes sure that there are systems in place that people can thrive. After all, what is a city without its people? Imogen Wagner is definitely very well spoken. She has this awe about her that just makes you want to listen. She's a woman of finance and runs quite a bit of the financial gains of the Camarilla, serving as a bit of an accountant for the entirety of the domain. With her own ambitions, of course. And, well, Primogen Fitzgerald oversees it all, making sure that the ship runs like clockwork. Every train, every car, every bus, every plane is on time. As the prince is a man who does not have any patience for tardiness. Eventually, it comes to a point in the discussion where they begin to talk about the hospital where Primogen, Dr. Ian Keller, is meant to be in charge of. There was a recent raid, a calling of the police after a shootout and an explosion of a vehicle caught the attention of passersby. The seneschal looks to Hound Singleton, Jade Kaufman, and yourself. As residents, he begins, of the domain in question, what do you have to offer that sheds some light as to what happened last night? Singleton explains, my seneschal, it had come to our attention through a string of information brokers amongst the Nosferatu who had informed us that there had been a sighting of Second Inquisition vehicles, and thus the hospital was a target. Seems that they were right. We dispatched each and every one of the agents that had been present, but not without drawing attention. Thankfully, it wasn't enough attention to garner the local news or any of the papers getting wind of it much. Some sort of freak accident or some kind of drug raid or something to that effect. He looks over to Nicholas. Seneschal Fitzgerald kind of leans back in his seat a little bit and says, I see. And you were present there, Mr. Singleton? And Raphael replies, I was. He looks to you, Dorian, knowing that you were there too, but he wasn't going to speak up for you.
As he looks over, I'll just say, I too was present.
And why were you there, Mr. Resner? Seneschal Fitzgerald asked you.
I have interests in the hospital, and through some tips of my own, heard that something was going down, so I went to investigate.
Simply went to investigate.
Yes, sir.
You did not interfere in the Hound's duties?
No, sir. When I encountered Mr. Singleton, we informed him of all we knew and were asked to leave and followed his orders.
He kind of leans back in his chair a little bit. The fact that there was a raid on that building at all is troublesome. It is incredibly vital that the contents of the hospital remain intact. Dr. Ian Killer's work is not meant to be disturbed. And the fact that the Second Inquisition was even onto things in the first place there is it's a danger to us all. You said you dispatched them, Mr. Singleton, yes? Raphael nods. Indeed, yes. Each and every last one. Good. Is there anything else anyone else would like to add before we move on to the next thing on the agenda? He looks around to everyone else. All right. And they move on to other matters. Matters that for the most part, don't involve yourself, Jade, or Mr. Singleton hardly at all, as it has to deal with a lot of the goings on of the downtown areas for the most part. Which, while you have a club there, Dorian, you don't have stake there. Some of the club that you own is really partially your sire's granted to you. It's almost in a way that the elder of the Ventru turn away from all of you, almost treating you like you're no longer adults at the adult table. But you're still meant to listen. Or you could engage in some side conversation with those who sit beside you. Being Jade or your sire.
What would etiquette tell me to do? What would be the proper thing to do?
The proper thing to do would be to remain quiet and not engage anyone in conversation. However, what you can get away with is another thing.
I would just
How badly do you want to
what...
talk with them at the table?
Not really. What I want to do is I want to follow what they're doing and talking about and see the moves that they're making. And see if there's any ways that I could possibly try to assist to garner favor, or see if anything I can learn anything interesting.
Okay. Make me
trying to get a foot in the door.
Right. In intelligence politics. Because there's a lot of that going on right now.
You know what? I will rouse for this.
Okay. Risking the hunger. Ooh, actually, I forgot to make you rouse for the new day, too. So do that, too. Everyone should be doing that one.
Man, I thought we got away scot-free.
Hey, you reminded me. Haha. You're hungrier. Yep.
I'm in danger.
And for Shriek, what's Shriek? There we go. Well, that's the politics. And a rouse for that. Okay, so you only woke up a little bit hungry, but you're not any hungrier as a result of your politics roll. What was Shriek's rouse for the first of the day? Haven't seen that yet. Shriek?
Roll 20 might be.
Oh, is roll 20 derping?
It might be. Dirt.
That's all right. We'll just move forward. Okay. So you got 5 successes on your politics roll, which isn't bad. It's not bad at all. So there's a lot of the back and forth, wheeling and dealing, making bargains and settling favors and things of that sort that don't exactly go explicit. They're a little bit more implied when it comes to the way that the elders speak in terms of what they're offering to one another based on the needs that they have. Nancy obviously goes into a lot of this sort of economic standing of the Dallas and Fort Worth area. She's definitely very knowledgeable about that sort of thing. But what she really wants out of the others is to know more about what she could offer them in that kind of way. In that she has a lot of ways that she can, make business ventures happen. Or she could completely ruin a person and their financial endeavors. She strikes you as the kind of person who wouldn't have the qualms of, throwing somebody's financial papers under the bus. She wouldn't necessarily tell it to your face, as she seems to be a relatively charismatic and enjoyable personality. You just know that she can ruin a lot of things if it wasn't for the fact that she has to play nice. So getting on her good side is advantageous.
Okay.
If a little bit tough.
I want to keep paying attention to see if there's any opportunities for that. What she wants, however, is a little harder to determine. What she offers is clear. But what she wants in return isn't so easily readable. She and Nicholas do have a number of conversations back and forth in front of the meeting as to not interfering with each other's business, as she's sort of the one who's running the proper channels, and he's the one who runs the not so legit channels. Almost working in tandem in a way. Like above and below board.
Yeah. You get that there's a relationship there in that particular way. She's still clearly his elder, but he's definitely offering her something that she doesn't otherwise get.
Okay.
Obviously, your sire really hasn't a lot to say in much of what she can offer or what she wants in return, as she is barely, as far as status is concerned, is barely above you. She is recognized as your sire, as the person who created you. Maybe even garners a little bit of resentment from Father McCree and Nancy, because she got permission to sire a childer while they've kind of been waiting in the wings.
Okay.
Perhaps that's why Father McCree is sometimes, not often, but sometimes giving side eye to your sire. Not that he's giving any kind of indication of like ill intent, but he definitely is keeping an eye on her.
Okay.
And well, you don't exactly have the best of relationships with Jade. You're somewhat familiar with Raphael, so you have an idea of how they operate with you, and they seem cordial to one another. But otherwise there isn't a whole lot exchanged there. It seems that even as a hound, a very respectable position amongst the Camarilla, Raphael Singleton is still seen as maybe a child at the adult table, much like yourself, much like Jade. Well, that's kind of what you learn about the relationships of the politic around you.
Okay.
Eventually, the meeting is adjourned, and the lot of you are able to either mingle or go about your business for the night.
Okay. I think after they adjourn, first thing I would do is probably talk to my sire.
Okay. Liliana Resner. She looks at you, kind of giving you a bit of a smile. It's a pleasure seeing you here.
I'm sorry I haven't been able to visit lately. Things have been keeping me busy.
As I would expect.
How are your endeavors going?
They're faring well enough. There's still a lot to do. But that is typical of a kindred more or less coming back to life, as it were.
Things pile up.
They do.
Is there anything I can help?
No, it's just a matter of getting my ducks in a row. Counting what ducks I have still. But all of that will come with time. What about yourself? You said that you had been at the hospital.
Yes, I've been hedging my bets in that domain.
Hedging bets? To what degree? What kind of bets are you making?
We're alone, right?
You're kind of in a corner.
I'm gonna speak low so only she can hear me.
Mm.
Well, the Primogen has shown himself to be erratic, and I want to make sure, should something happen, that there's still stability in the region.
Erratic.
Yes.
And by primogen, you mean...
Keller.
You should come to expect that of a Malkavian.
Yes, he, well, flies off the handle and acts erratic quite frequently. And there's so much potential in that area that's unrealized. I've been doing what I can. But I don't think I can do much more by my own. It may be time to start looking for allies.
Should always be crafting allies.
Yes. I'm trying to remember what you taught me.
Yes, well, in the rather short period of time that we've had so far.
I just know that I'm trying to do the legacy proud and do a little bit of redeeming while we're at it.
We have a very steep name to live up to. Or even surpass.
That's what I'm trying. It was fascinating watching them work tonight.
And what did you learn, my pupil? And she kind of leads you toward the door so that you can start walking together out.
Well, at this point, they were poking and prodding at each other, trying to get someone to bite, offering what they can, seeing what, trying to find out what each other needs. I can see some of the ties.
Good. Fast learner. I knew I chose well.
Well, you are one of the people that I am trying to live up to.
Ah, well. There's still a lot for me to do. So what is your interest in the hospital in the first place? Keller aside.
I just know that control of it's important.
As we all do.
So I am looking to secure its future. I've,
Knowing nothing of its importance, truly. You still would do such a thing?
if you see a vault, even though you don't know that it contents and it's well guarded, shoring up and making sure no one else can get in still protects it for those who it's important to. I don't need to know everything, but I do know enough to see the ties and know that it matters if things were to go south with Keller, I know that whatever could be lost there is important enough that the most important people at that table were worried about it. So,
I'm surprised that you caught worried out of all of the stoicism in that room.
well, not everything can be hidden. Like I said, some things are just above my pay grade. But I
Yeah.
don't have to know what's there to know that it's important enough to protect.
Hmm. Well, I have learned something about you tonight.
Hopefully, something good. And he'll smile. I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
Some advice. If you were looking for allies, where would you start? I can look in that room and see the strongest of allies and ways to try to garner favor with them, but I don't know what the smartest play would be. I'm still very new to this game.
Hmm. Who would be your... The question being, more appropriately, is what do you have to offer? What could you offer any one of them?
Hmm. That's the problem. That's the other second question I was going to ask.
Probably the more important.
Yes.
Without something to offer, or even hint that you might have, there is no conversation to be had. You cannot garner favor on nothing. You cannot simply say, I will do what you want, just ask of me. Because that doesn't tell how you can be useful. You, my darling, are a charmer. You're a man of money. You have many ventures that garner you income of a kind type. Wealth in itself is a kind of power, much like our good Primogen Nancy Wagner would attest to. She is also a woman of money, knows how to wheel and deal that money in ways that would benefit all of the Camarilla. I would not be surprised if she has connections all over the country. People who may owe her little favors in other cities. However, that is far bigger a scope than you have. But it is a scope that maybe you should think about. Because you have your little sphere of influence here, primarily in the Arlington domain. You said you see potential there. What kind of potential can you foster? What can your wealth be put to use and do? I've noticed that there has been a apartment building that has recently gone up, actually rather fast, garnering a little bit of notice from those who might have some city planning connections at their fingertips. It wasn't exactly... Well, everything's above board, but it certainly was purposeful. Noticed. You had a potential and a purpose there. So what else could your money do?
Did open another establishment to try to draw in more.
That would draw you in more income.
Well, also draw in more people into the area.
What kind of establishment? What would benefit the area in which you reside?
It was kind of a bar, an arcade. A place that people could go with their families during the day, and then after hours, the adults could play. Something that normal clubs who would want to come out to the suburbs to go to, but the people that do live here, even they need something fun to do every once in a while.
Arcade?
Games of all kinds.
Like children play.
And some for that are more adult. But yes. Everything from games that are physically played to more electronic ones. Sometime I'll have to show you.
But is that something that your community needs?
Well, feeding was one of the things that was a problem.
That is a problem for the kindred. I said your community.
I was hoping that it would help both. But I suppose I need to look into what the kind community needs more often.
How else are you going to draw more kind?
True.
Your kind need things, much as we kindred do. So what does your community lack? What can you add? Obviously, it is well within your power to erect tall towers of apartments. You've proven that much.
Could Dorian think about this and try to provide an answer?
That would be... Let's see what he can do. That would be either intelligence academics to know about the sort of demographics of the area in which you live, or intelligence streetwise to understand and be more insightful about what the community already has a part of it. Your choice.
Let's do this.
You already know it's suburban. That much you know.
Two dice.
Okay. Given it's a suburban community, given how much you've traveled your domain, very rarely do you actually see much in the way of businesses, commercial zoning, things like that. It's very much a residential sort of suburban home, picket fence, typical family sort of a place. It's and very much has very little in the way of a low income populace, I guess. It's primarily, you know, the richer folks who go into the city and actually have downtown jobs and things like that that actually live in your community. So families, adults with children, primarily that sort of a demographic. The relatively low crime, but mostly family oriented. So possibly a sort of barcade could work. But you also kind of wonder, well, what about after school stuff? Like community centers, like daycares, like things of that sort. These adults go to jobs and need to have their children occupied somehow. So if there's families primarily in the place, then anything family oriented should do rather well and actually draw more people to move into this section of the city.
Okay. That's a good idea.
And do you
I'll
share that with her?
I'll just start thinking. You know, I think maybe a few community centers and like after school programs, or maybe even a daycare or two.
Invest in the future
Something,
kind.
yes.
It's a thought. You know your domain better than I.
That would definitely be a way to keep people and draw more in.
Then I suppose, to answer your initial question about whom you should make allies with, it's those who involve themselves a lot with the kind. To maybe spark the imagination.
I'll just give her a big smile.
She just
It's always
smiles
a
back at
pleasure
you.
to see you.
It is always a pleasure to see you.
If you need anything, don't hesitate to call.
Me? Need anything? I dread the thought.
I know you can take care of yourself. You've proven that. But I still worry.
Much as a son worries after his mother.
Yes. Well, I've got a lot more work to cut out for me tonight, it seems. Hopefully, you have a wonderful evening.
And it so seems that I have a lot to do myself.
And I'll just pop my arm out and escort her out to her car, wherever whoever's driving her.
And she has a nice car and a driver. Not nearly as nice as what you typically roll around in, but nice enough. And when you get to your car, your own lovely driver is in the front seat. Miss Adriana Stone. Or Andrea Stone, rather. Typically runs the club, but she's your chauffeur for the night.
I'll climb in the back. Good evening, Andrew.
Mr. Resner, where to?
Probably. Let me send a message out real quick, and I'll text the coterie and see if we're meeting up tonight or if I'm on my own.
I will simply get on the highway then, sir.
Yes, head back towards the domain. At the very least, I need to go to the penthouse and we can go over a few of the future plans.
Understood, sir. And she gives a nod and begins to drive. I believe it's your Rolls Royce that you brought out tonight.
Yeah, I would bring out my nicest shiz for this.
Mm-hmm. And each and every kindred that you pass along the way sees you driving off in one of the fanciest cars that could ever grace the roads of Dallas. So, the rest of the coterie, you all receive a text asking if you're meeting up tonight from one Dorian Resner.
Well, that seems to be the plans I need to end up dealing with. I need to end up getting together and see on how everything ends up going. It's one thing to end up figuring out where the dominoes might fall, but there's always a complication. And if there is one, I'm going to hear about it from the coterie, so might as well end up getting together now.
Also, speaking of which, Shriek, you didn't rouse for the beginning of the night when I called for it, so if you'll do that for me, please.
Oh, thought I did. My mistake.
Nope, there it is.
There we
Nope,
go.
same as you left yourself last night. But we've got some hungry kindred amongst us, so Dorian included. Maybe some of your Ventru teammates, as it were, were starting to look a little bit like snacks.
Alex will probably send a message through to everybody, except for, of course, Aaron, saying that she'll be sure to pick up their phoneless friend.
Okay. Phoneless friend has been accounted for. So, where are we meeting up again?
Usually it's at the pavilion outside of my place so that we don't break all of the light bulbs.
Ah, yes.
Or infest everything with insects.
Ah, yes. Indeed. All right. Everybody's meeting up outside at the little pavilion place. Each of you rolling up in your own vehicle or shared vehicle as you see fit, with Dorian obviously sporting the fanciest car that you probably have seen in a long time, with a chauffeur and everything too. The rest of the evening is yours.
Well, out with one vehicle and in with a fancier upgrade, it looks like.
You don't think I actually just have one, do you?
No, I think I've counted about 4 or 5 different vehicles. Just off the top of my head.
Yes. There are. Look, some people collect watches. I've always had a thing for vehicles.
feel like a different one every night now.
Is Aaron here?
Should be. Unless our good friend Spectre stepped away.
I was muted and I didn't realize I didn't unmute. Okay. Yes. Oh my god. What is that noise?
Nope, that's a noise.
That
Noise?
was
Okay.
like crickets.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Cool. Okay. Sure am. Right here. Just appreciating that beauty you got on over there, Mr. Resner.
Oh, there's some features you have to see, and would you mind joining me?
I'm
And
talking about the woman.
She's got features too, I'm assure you. But you're on your own for looking for that. But I do have something over there that I'd like to give you, if you don't mind.
Alright. I suppose. He follows Mr. Resner, and every time he's like walking, you can tell he's walking mostly normal, except every now and again you see something like shift in his knee, and you hear a horrible crunch as he continues. It doesn't seem to bother him any.
But I'm sure the sound is great. But as I'm walking over, Andrea, this is Mr. Winters. Mr. Winters, Andrea.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
I take him around and pop the trunk. And in the back of the trunk, you would see a suitcase and a rather nice box that says Stetson on it.
Stetson. It's a gun brand, right?
Yeah, they make the best cowboy hats.
Oh, they make the best. Oh my god. Okay. I'm excited. Aaron is like looking at it kind of scrupulously and
We're
picks it up.
talking like $2,000 for a high-end felt cowboy hat.
God damn.
You know, seeing this, Alex is kind of just gonna raise a brow at Dorian.
Picks it up, opens the box, sees that it's a very fine leather that matches his boots, his favorite boots, and just shakes his head, kind of astounded. Puts it on his head, adjusts it. Oh, this even fits right. Well, damn, Mr. Resner.
Well, the other one got ruined because of me, and well, there's a nice jacket. I don't know if and some replacement clothes. I don't know if they're to your liking, but I wanted to make that right.
I appreciate it. I'll just take the hat. Jackets come and go.
Oh, please. Everything should fit you. I think you're a little broader in the chest than I am, so it would just go to waste if you don't use them.
What's the occasion, Mr. Resner? It's, some kind of standard here, or, am I gonna have to pay you back or something?
No, it looks like I think I owe you. I almost got you killed. This is a small step in the direction of me trying to pay you back for that. And if you open up the suitcase, there's a couple of like real nice pairs of jeans, nice jacket. Like I don't remember if you had leather or denim, but a very nice jacket and some like nice t-shirts, pocket or like collared shirts and dress shirts.
Harry is gonna like side eye and quirk a brow at Resner, and he's thinking like, why is he playing dress up with me? What?
Mr. Resner made
Picking
it
up-
abundantly clear that we spare no expense when it comes to you, Mr. Winters.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm really not much one for gifts, Mr. Resner. I'll take the hat. The hat is great. I love the hat. But
Well, the other stuff will be on standby should you need it.
What?
I'll give it to Alex to stash at her store in case you need to change clothes at some point.
he shakes his head and he's okay. Understood.
And he'll just smile and hold out his hand to shake yours.
He does so almost begrudgingly. He reaches out and takes your hand as well and gives a firm grip. It's a little bit begrudgingly.
I know you probably don't want to owe me, and I feel the same way. And this is the like Canadian standoff.
Thought it was called Mexican standoff.
That's with guns. I think
Wait.
Canadian standoff is when you're polite.
I would argue it if it wasn't for the fact that you got a pair of fangs. And it's still the same thing in the end.
You got a point. And he'll just kind of smile and start walking back over to the group.
And watches for a moment. He's gonna close the trunk, the Rolls Royce trunk, and adjust the hat. What's going on in his head is that, yeah, this feels like Resner says he's paying him back, but there's a part of Aaron that is like, what the hell kind of takeover is this? He's dressing me up. He's telling me he's using Alex as a fucking storage bin, or shop as a storage bin.
How bad was what he took from you? How badly does he need you to not know it?
I was just doing my job, fundamentally. That is what was going in my head.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to butter me up.
Is he afraid of me? Is he afraid of me? He lets the thought linger for a moment before turning to the group. He does, like, side-eye Alex for a moment. Part of him wondering if she knows what's going on, what this is about.
She legitimately looks just as bewildered as Aaron does.
He's just gonna shrug and adjust his hat again. He does like the hat. And lean up against the gazebo, crossing his arms.
It's a very nice $2,500 hat.
So,
Complete again, Aaron.
feeling a little more put together, for sure. The only thing I need to get fixed up now is a couple holes in me and a semi-broken leg.
Yeah, the crunching is a little unsettling.
To be fair, it's not the worst you've seen of me.
Which is to
Freddy
say,
Krueger.
Andrea has actually stayed by the Rolls Royce, so you're out of earshot of her.
Freddy Krueger.
Oh, Coffee, I did pick up a second dot for her.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you that.
Okay. I will make a mental note.
Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm. Krueger.
Ooh.
Why do I feel like I missed something?
Now I know why you didn't want the shirts. They weren't red and green.
His eyes.
Next time your face gets burned off, that's going to become a permanent nickname for you, I swear.
Maybe I'll make a whole night of it or something.
Let's not.
I would prefer none of us getting blown up.
So, catch you up. Shriek. The raid happened. And, the whole arrangement was a little bit, more intense than any of us really anticipated.
Yeah, Shriek,
When
you
in
kind of
fact-
had a back row seat to everything that that happened between them.
Aaron doesn't know that.
But I'm telling Shriek that.
Yeah, but I don't think Shriek ever made his presence known during the whole thing.
Nope.
Nope.
Really? How did it go?
Apparently we found some folks on the inside already digging around. I remember grabbing the fellow's face and... well, he didn't really have much of a face after that.
Given your proclivities, it could be far worse.
It's true.
I'm sure it all went swimmingly. I mean, everybody's here, and barring what I can only assume is a broken bone given the way you're walking, unless you think I'm cute and just trying to waddle just like that. I didn't think you were down for it, but hey, you know what? We'll go with it. What I am seeing, however, is, well, everybody came out of it. Seems like everything must have ended up going accordingly. Did everybody manage to walk out all right?
Still need to catch up with Gerard. As far as I'm aware, yes.
Well, so what went down?
Alex intentionally avoids Shriek's gaze.
I'm pretty sure that's obvious enough when you state it like that. Like you're making it pretty obvious of a show that.
She's not hiding it.
Nope.
Oh, don't tell me it ended up getting a little bit awkward. Not in your hands, Alex. I end up trusting you so much with these things. Did
Don't
things
look at
get a
me.
little out of hand?
Look, the explosions this time were not my fault.
Explosions.
There might have been an explosion.
Why did you bring explosives to the site?
We didn't.
Do I
So
look
you
like
just
I
set
have
them
my
off?
lucky bomb and my lucky detonator on me usually? No. It was something that they had rigged up, I think.
They.
She. Just one girl. Pulled a couple rounds right in my face and took her down.
Well, explains the makeover.
Yeah. Vehicle ran in reverse, smashed into a tree, blew up. It's like some scene out of a movie.
Yeah,
I
he even threw me through the windshield.
don't think you would have made it out otherwise.
Yeah, thank you for that. Figured you were trying to help me and it wasn't personal.
In any case, ended up hell of a lot messier than I thought. I think something happened in the hospital. Got a little bit missing in my cranium. But all's well that
But,
ends well, I guess.
well, I certainly hope so at the very least. So, things go a little bit south. You get shot in the face. There's a whole bunch of exploding. Everybody made it out okay. So what does everybody else outside of our little circle of friends all of a sudden think about this? He
There
says with
was
bated breath.
there was definitely some interest with some of the higher ups within my clan.
What kind of interest did we manage to lobby? Preferably the positive kind, the kind that gets you into doors, the kind that makes everybody want to end up hearing it from your mouth and gets you the ability to end up asking, hey, what's it to you? But maybe I'm just hopeful.
Well, Singleton did most of the explaining. I told our part. And being around them was intense.
I imagine it can be.
The amount of power that they wield. You think you know, like, on a general level, but then you see them using it and making deals. And you get you even get a peer into the abyss that they have of influence and things that they could do in effect. But I think I have an idea of maybe some allies that I could go after. I definitely have ideas of things I can do for the domain now. Try to improve our situation.
Always good to have a few ideas at the very least.
Yeah.
I guess then it really ends up begging the question, where do we go from here? I'm sure that our dear Primogen is currently stewing in his pot at this point. I imagine he's absolutely livid.
I would imagine so
Just
too.
one more. There's one
Well,
more.
one more. What do you mean, one more?
We took out a couple weeks ago. We saw speaking with someone last year happened to know by name, certain doctor. I'm willing to wager at this point, if she was talking with him, he knows too much.
Well, then I guess we gotta remove him.
This time I would like to
Guess so.
question them before we do that.
Hey, I'm just there to end up letting you know what's up and getting you there.
I have a concern.
The Warlock has a concern. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Please, darling, by
Perhaps.
all means.
Well, essentially what happened last night was kicking the hornet's nest.
Hmm.
They now have confirmation that there is a problem here in the city.
Well, I would have thought they had confirmation by ending up on the site in the first place.
Yeah, but there is definite confirmation. What happens when you kick a hornet's nest?
Whoa, 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 whoa. So you're telling me information of the site got leaked out?
Wouldn't that stand to reason since they showed up?
No, it would stand to reason that they show up and then disappear. But then
If
again,
they
I
were-
guess nobody factored in the idea of somebody deciding to set off a fireball in the middle of downtown.
It's the fireball that concerns.
And the fireball might have also ended up doing you a favor, you know, a little murder-suicide is always good on the headline.
His.
So they have no confirmation one way or the other now, do they?
We don't know that.
Well, what do you know? Because,
We know that it was rather big.
well, clearly, I mean, hell. I've been spending most of my time hearing about people telling me there was an explosion, and now I'm putting two and two together. Strick says without acknowledging the fact that he was sitting there on a rooftop watching front row seats on this whole thing, but that's a whole nother thing to discuss. So, after the whole bunch of fire and big loud noises, and what I can only imagine is a bunch of screaming, panicking, kindred, and kind, what happened?
Well, we got out, but
Really? You're not going to end up telling me Mr. Winters here was left behind and caught up in the smoldering flames? You all got out. I
We drove
appreciate.
away. He ran away. And according to his own account, Mr. Singleton killed everyone else.
Well, that is his job, after all. Who knew a hound would be familiar with the concept of mass murder? Wow, you discover something new every day.
The point I'm making is that we should still be aware in case any more show up.
Oh, they will. That I don't have any doubt. What they need is confirmation that the blast not only took out their compatriots, but also the individuals who accosted them. Makes it pretty cut and dry, if I do say so myself. And it covers up our tracks. It gives them plausible deniability, and everything can go back to running cool for a little bit while everybody works out the pieces. Besides, we got bigger fish to fry, don't we?
Suppose we do.
So, that being said, Mr. Resner ended up having an idea before he was sidetracked. So let's hear it.
Well, the two ways I can go about this, depending on what we want to focus on, is I can keep securing establishing our position in this domain and taking over things that are important to Keller, and we can look for an ally to try to push him into redundancy, or I can focus on developing kind relations and increasing our food supply.
Well, now this just a pickle. Let's weigh the pros and cons, shall we? The way I see it is one turns into a nice public service that ends up earning you such a wonderful little bit of familiarity, probably makes you very much a blue blood of the people. Yeah, certainly it won't end up making you end up falling for bad press. Fantastic idea. But right now, part of Killer's strain is the fact that resources are a little bit tight. The idea that there just isn't enough veins to go around. And because of that, that adds pressure. So we can compound that, and if you got an ally in mind, if you got somebody we can reach out to and make him redundant, like you said, well, once you get into your position, Mr. Resner, you'll probably be able to end up solidifying it. After all, nothing says you can't do both. It's just doing them both at the same time is counterproductive. One makes you get off with a little bit of good press, makes life a little easier on the domain, removes some of the pressure from the cooker, so to speak. Which, always a good thing. Hey, don't let it be said that I'm completely short-sighted. But the other part of it is that it also takes the pressure off of Keller.
True.
So the question I guess you gotta ask yourself is, what's in the domain's best interest? Feeding it? Or getting Keller the fuck out of the way? But that's beyond my station. Leave it to the Blue Blood to end up figuring out these little conundrums.
Well, there's more I'd like to talk to you about this in later.
Well, we're here right now.
Okay. Who do you think stands to gain the most from Keller's removal? Who should we try to go after?
That is a really good question. Who stands to gain the most from Keller's removal? Well, let's run down the list of obvious suspects, right? For yourself, there's obviously Seneschal Fitzgerald. I mean, Fitzgerald, if like any good blue blood, always loves to end up helping to fill out a power vacuum, and I have no doubt that Fitzgerald has a few individuals already in mind to do so. That's always a grand total tidbit. But then we also end up having the wonderful bit of Sabrina. Sabrina might end up finding it interesting to, well, I should end up saying Sabrina is more of a threat. Threat in the fact that it's a Malkavian owned domain. Hey, they gotta come up. We need to end up making this so toxic that the Malkavians want nothing to do with it. And let's not forget about our dear beloved Bull. Bull has this wonderful little bit where I'm pretty sure he wants to end up being able to keep it to the prince. Now, him trying to end up taking this place, I'm pretty sure he's not going to want anything to do with it. Mostly on the fact that this is set up as a trap. So we need to end up finding somebody who's pliable, but the prince wants to end up having a slightly compromised position. Thinking on that. You know, as far as the people in court, the big players, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I like many of them. Probably the big one that I'm more worried about than anything else probably would end up being Blackwood. The Sombra do like their to get their mitts into things, and certainly would end up falling in his capability. Last time I heard in court, anyway. And the Sombra definitely need a win at this point, if only to end up finding themselves in a better position within the Camarilla, newcomers and all. Martel could be fun. If only on the fact that he has a relation to you, and that puts us in a good light. What else would be good? Premier historically aren't big power players, not the kind we need right now. Unless somebody happens to have a ticket to Hogwarts that I'm not aware of. No? Okay. So, biggest benefactor for removing him, well, biggest benefactor to remove Keller. Well, outside of the whole domain, I would have to end up saying that the biggest benefit would probably have to end up going to Mr. Singleton. Yeah, he's a part of the domain, but he's also kind of part of the whole court thing. Mr. Singleton likes to have good relations and for the most part be left alone to do his job. But he's been being run ragged since Keller got here.
You know something I was thinking about? You mentioned Blackwood. Isn't his Offspring, a friend of those that died the other night. It could be something we could leverage as information to get into with him.
Coffee. I'm blanking on what he's referring to. Do I have a refresher, or is there a roll I can make if I can confirm that information?
I believe that it was explained that a certain Nosferatu ended the lives of a couple of Templars in their domain.
Okay, and one of them was a blood relation to Isaac.
No,
No,
they
it
were
was Kane's
friends
buddy.
of
I'm saying they were
Kane's.
Kane's buddy.
Yeah, so the two that were taken were Kane's
Okay.
little underlings.
And Kane is Blackwood's childer.
Yeah. That might be the reason that he doesn't want to end up doing it. I'm just like, did I miss the loss of Kane at some point? Wait a minute.
He finally pissed the Scourge off.
So good info, but it gives up one of our core advantages.
I
Our
was just
biggest
thinking from what I understand, Blackwood was in the mortuary business. That could be tied to the hospitals and seen as a boon to him to.
one's interested in keeping people above ground, one's interested in putting people below ground. As one flourishes, the other one depreciates in value. No. If anything, my biggest concern is it gives up the leverage that our dear hound has on Fernando. And I would hate to compromise the hound's position, especially after he's been making such a good name for himself.
Well,
Keep it in the back pocket just in case that situation changes.
yeah. I think.
Like you're thinking, Mr. Resner?
Well, I know what we need. I just don't see the avenues to get it yet.
Well, it just comes down to a choice, like I laid out. You're more concerned with building up the domain and making life easier on our primogen, or are you interested enough to remove the primogen so that you have an easier time working within the domain?
I think instead of doing short-term gains, we should fix the problem and then rebuild everything as it should be.
As it should be. I can't be the only one thinking about this right now. Come on, everybody, do chime in. It's a coterie decision after all.
I believe we had a end goal of removing a problem when we started it.
I would second that. We need the SI out. Before we start on anything else, any other ventures that lead back to us, we need them out.
All right. Well, what all do you need from me for this?
probably set up some security. We need to have more eyes and ears out on the streets. Generally speaking, more avenues to keep an eye out going into the future.
I can hire third
You're
parties,
muted,
but
Derek.
I could hire third parties to do this, but there are also some within the domain that we might be able to task for this.
I'm
There are
not
plenty
really
of
the
people.
Dylan type.
There's plenty of people power in this domain that will be happy to work with. I'm sure of it.
And there's branches of Seraph Securities all over the city. They hire out security guards.
Mm-hmm.
Alex is actually thinking more along the lines of their little thin-blooded friend.
Yeah, that's the first person I was going to. Like, I'm going to get other people to, you know, round out our blind spots, but, you know, getting our thin bloods and those in the domain that, you know, actually have a stake here.
If I could be so inclined, I'd like to wager a different method. Certainly, we can keep asking other vampires about it, but there's plenty of folks just out on the streets on the regular. Wouldn't have to know nothing. They just have to be able to see. If you trust on another vampire, you can trust they're going to be out there going ahead and selling that information the moment they get it. Especially the fact of that it is important to you. With people, it's easier. Just give them a little money. Ask them what they want, what they've been around and doing, weird shit they seen. That's how I used to work. That's how I was able to find our kind. And I was still human. You'd be surprised what people, just pedestrians, civilians, folks minding their own fucking business, happen to catch eyes on and don't think too much of it. But they remember. They fucking remember. I'm more than happy to tell the story.
I could set that
Start
up.
working networks with that. Get more eyes and ears in that regard. The other thing I was thinking, security in of itself. Can't think much more than just laying low on that front. So we continue to lay low. But I want to know where the hell that doctor is. I want to know what he's doing, what he's eating, what he's shitting. Every hour of every day of his life. I'm gonna figure out the best time to make him go away.
Would this doctor that he's talking about, would I know him from my time at the hospital?
Alex would know who that is. I don't know if she has shared with the rest of the coterie who Dr. Olson is.
She has with Shriek, and she's vaguely shared some with Aaron, and that's it.
Okay. So no,
She
Dorian.
definitely told Kane and Anna about it, but since then,
Then Dorian probably would be pretty baffled. Not sure what Aaron's referring to.
Well, if it's a doctor and someone at the hospital, I might be able to find out who they are. But don't really know who you're talking about.
Can charm, I suppose. sure there's a clerk at the register that'd be able to help you out. Captivated by that. Suited. Something.
I have a question.
Hmm.
I vaguely remember that Shriek and Alex paid a visit to one of the associates of Dr. Olson.
Yep, they fed on him.
Way back. Yep. Well, more Shriek fed on him.
Hmm.
Would I know if Shriek still has the details of that person?
You know that Shriek is a hoarder of information. It stands to reason. Could just ask.
Shriek? Do you know if Dr. Olson's associate is still living where she was where we last visited her?
I'd have to end up going through my Rolodex, but I can always check into it.
Might be one of the better ways of finding out what he's up to.
With your leave, I will gladly end up going to do that. If it's that important. What do you need out of her? Or him. Sorry, I forgot. Been a long time.
Well, if I'm understanding Aaron right, remove him.
Let it never be said I don't get my hands bloody for youth. Yeah, I love you all.
Love you too, Shriek.
All right. Let me call in and get the girls on for a ride. Might I have your permission to leave, Mr. Resner?
I don't hold that much sway.
You better start pretending you do, otherwise people are going to forget who you are.
And when it matters, I'll act like it.
And with that, Shriek is getting into the car and calling up the girls. Gotta getting the twins and his current PA all there ready to go.
Oh, pardon me. So,
Don't start that shit, Coffee.
with that, we are going to take a quick break, so be right back, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to Blood and Iron, Dead Man's Hand. Aaron, having been, well, the group more or less disbanding from their catching up with one another after the aftermath of the situation at the hospital, each is going their own route. Aaron wanted to make good on some things. Catch up with his sire, Vincent Roderick, and, well, figure out maybe some things that he could relay to his sire as payment for something that Aaron feels he's ready for. Oblivion. So, what Vincent has welcomed you into a bit of a morgue. Nothing terribly fancy, nothing really opulent about the funeral home in which all of these corpses are stored. But it looks like it would earn a modest living for those who would care about money at this point. Was there anything that you wanted to do before meeting up with Vincent?
Well, I was thinking of feeding, but I'm here now, so we're gonna go.
All right. He seems to be making some notes. Seems to have a cadaver that he's kind of working on to get prepared for burial or some such thing. Instruments everywhere. Chemicals are open, and the smell of them is just a bit rank. Maybe you're familiar with some of the techniques of preparing the dead, and maybe you're not.
No. Most I know about preparing the dead is burning them. Ain't much behind me on that. I might know the prayer of God and all that. Final rites as much as I can as a former religious gentleman myself, but well, I don't think God's looking no more. In any case, before I enter or anything like that, I'm gonna politely knock on the metal there.
Almost finished, he says as he's finishing up with an incision that he made to remove fluids from the corpse's body. And when he steps aside, you see that this person has definitely seen better days. This corpse that he's working on is more or less missing a head. Gunfire, you think?
Not a clean cut, just a good messy one.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially from a certain firefight that occurred in the last couple of nights. That's what I'm thinking. Can I discern that?
You can discern that this is a very familiar body to you, at least. Is that Cash?
Why would you do this to me? Yeah. Shakes his head. It's not possible.
Vincent's taking
That way-
some rubber gloves off of his hands and kind of starts walking towards you. Welcome in, Aaron.
Mr. Roderick. Vince. It's been a couple weeks. How you been?
Faring well enough. And you?
I'd say I'm mighty busy.
Hmm.
Busier than I like to be.
It's usually what happens when you're settling into a new place. Is that any roots?
Yeah, well. Roots is a way to put it. I don't know if it's roots so much as it is I'm uprooting other shit.
Well.
In fact, that's kind of what I've been up to since I got there. Pulling weeds.
Pulling weeds. Don't we all? We all have our place. We all do what we must for the betterment of the city.
Since when you got into any of this? Too long ago, you worked in a warehouse, now you're doing this.
I have a lot of different hats that I wear. And, well, it was Isaac Blackwell who asked me to help with this one.
Huh. Heard that name earlier tonight. Funny.
Should be a well-known name by now. He's the sire of the Scourge's apprentice.
Is that Kane fellow?
Cain Tenebris. Well, some might find the name a little bit ironic. Some might call it blasphemous. It just depends on who you talk to and what they believe.
Yeah, well, I'm not calling him an asshole because of his name.
Ah, well. Anyone who has had dealings with him knows that he's a bit lacking in the charismatic features.
Lacking is a interesting way to put it. All things considered, I'm lacking in the charismatics, as you so put it. But you know, funny thing about that is, I don't go out of my way and threaten to kill other folks, other kindred. Just funsies. That's
To-
neither here or there.
To each their own, I guess.
Put that out in the World Wide Web or whatever. Look, I thought I'd go ahead and check in with you. Like I said, I've been busy pulling weeds. Some of them weeds are talked to you before. Second Inquisition. I warned you they might have been in the neighborhood.
Right. There was a bit of a rumor going around about some kind of truck explosion over at the hospital.
It's a funny way to put it. You know, I had actually probably better describe it as a raid.
Hmm.
They're cracking into Keller's.
Ah. Stupid move, that one.
For who?
Well, for the 8 or 9 individuals that came away from that place dead. Possibly more. There was
Yeah,
a
a
bit
couple.
more crime scene to clean up.
A couple of them were on my part.
Hmm.
I was there to support Hound Singleton.
Hmm. I figured I'd recognize a little bit of your handiwork with a smashed skull. And
Would you believe me if I tried to say I was trying to be gentle?
I would believe you so far as you believe that. Sometimes our strength gets away with us. It's kind of one of the things that comes with tampering with the dark.
Yeah. Speaking of. I'm having a bit of a complication, Vince.
Okay. Kind of a complication.
Told me to bring you one of the suspected SI folks in for questioning to you. Whatever kind of information I could bring about him. Problem is, they keep on fucking breaking the moment I grab them.
Yes, indeed. That does tend to happen. However, I think you misunderstand. I just said bring them. I didn't necessarily say whether they had to be alive. And you've brought me 9. So, I think you've done the service of the Camarilla all that much more good.
I'm not necessarily going to attribute what our hound, Mr. Singleton, went ahead and did. Most I can count is 2.
Well,
Got a little bit fuzzy there.
Well, your assistance was included, nonetheless.
Just takes his hat off and bows his head. Thank you, sir.
So I suppose this is about the trade-off that you wanted.
That's correct. I want to understand it better. Because I'm finding, after that whole ordeal, there's... I don't know. There's something about it. How it's all changing in me. I feel like more a part of whatever hell that is. A lot more closely. I'm feeling like the best way I could describe it is it's all old story, this word, some sort of phrase that stare into the abyss stares back.
There's more truth to that saying than you realize.
Yeah, well, lately I've been feeling like I stare into the abyss and the abyss winks.
So you want to stare at the dark and not be afraid.
I want to know why it does what it does. I want to be able to control it.
Control is a strong word. One can never truly control anything when it comes to the void. But you can learn to wield it, to allow it to move through you and with you and for you. But it does come with its own cost. Each and every time you stare into that black hole, it eats away at your soul. What's left of that black soul within you. Faster than others of our kind. You think Cain is but a beast. I tell you right now, the void will turn you into a bigger monster. One capable of endless violence and destruction. To sate that need to destroy within you.
Thinks about it. There is a small thought that wanders through his head. He wonders how far down the rabbit hole he can go. Mostly, when he thinks of that, he thinks of Meng Yue, a pretty lady.
The woman you care about so much.
Part of him resents the fact that even if he wanted to, even if he had all the money in the world, in truth, he could never really meet standard and expectation. He couldn't be human for her anymore. He couldn't give her a family. Not really. The other part of him feels anger and frustration. And a loathing at his circumstance. A spite. The simple thought that there's a part of him already ripped away. Everything about this existence is ripped away so much.
Like cash.
Is Cash dead? He looks at the body. Is Cash dead? Thinks back to who was there. There's Singleton. There was Resner. Why doesn't he remember what happened? If all they wanted was a gun. Why? Why would they take anything else from him? They want a gun so perfectly, so docile, so manipulated and controlled. The spite in him tells him more than anything else, he will show them a gun. Best damn gun this domain ever seen. He looks Vince in the eye. He just nods. Difference. Difference between me and a beast. Because I'm a bit more refined than that, sir. Even if it resides in me. You can always be sure, point me, I will shoot. And only then will I shoot.
On command,
Nevermore.
without hesitation.
Under the conditions that the Camarilla requires of me, sir.
Then I think you can be molded still. I want to show you something. Something the void can do for you. And he goes over to one side of the body. And you can tell that he's preparing ingredients, mixing them with his vitae, muttering a few words, and you feel as if the room is getting heavy. The dim light in here gets dimmer. And after a few moments, you hear the words, "Get up." The rigor mortis body of Cash, what used to be Cash, what's no longer Cash, creaks and crunches in the most unnatural of sounds, slides its legs over the side of the table that slides into these little cubby holes for corpses, sits up, stares at you with that gunshot face. And you see that Vince is using his fingers almost like puppeteer strings. You see almost faint little black strings as he begins to tug and gesture, and this animated corpse Makes little motions with hands, with fingers. Even gets up on its feet and starts to walk itself into another section of the room.
Aaron's jaw clenches. He just shuts his eyes for a moment. Finally recognizing his family, his friend. His hair, back of his shoulders, the familiar silhouette as it walks around, even without a jaw and most of its face.
Without even the
Slightest bit-
dignity of clothing. Naked, autopsied, devoid of fluids. Having gone through the whole embalming process and just got up and walked.
It's him.
It's him. And you know. You know in your gut. There's no mistaking the little things. Birthmarks. The shape of his jaw, the color of his hair, his build. Every little bit. Every little thing tells you it's him.
He's restraining so many emotions. Rage and guilt and pain. As much as he wants to scream, the only thing Aaron can do is just stand and watch. Slowly opening his eyes and accepting a new reality. The only thing left he has is emptiness.
I think that's a good point for us to move on to the next scene. Shriek. You, my friend, have decided to take the girls out for a stroll.
Look, it's a good time to end up having ladies' night.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, gotta end up making sure that everything is going accordingly. However, that doesn't stop me from looking over the dash. Well, currently watching Madame currently driving as the twins are sitting on either side of me in the back seat. I imagine this is how most of them like to end up doing it anyway. But I'm looking at the card that showcases me the address where I'm going to. Gotta look up, bust right on out and say, "What's up, Doc?" But right now it's just seeing an outing. See where they're at, what they're doing, and getting eyes on them. Preferably ones that are not going to get the meat eaten. And I need to keep everything in mind. that this can go horribly wrong. And if it does, well, helps when you got a cleanup crew.
The drive is relatively uneventful. It's late enough in the night that there's barely any traffic. You end up in the neighborhood of the individual you know to be associated with Dr. Olson, according to the notes that you may have either written down or jogged into your memory.
I like to keep a catalog. Hell, I make it a point on several of occasions that every time I break into a new house, I always end up trying to get the card, contact information, or anything else.
Exactly.
You'd be amazed on how much you can end up getting out of to know a person just by looking around their house. What they want to project, what's really important to them, where they work, who's their favorite kid. Be surprised on what you can pick up. But I imagine we're not far out from the residence. And I'm currently looking over it from a distance as Madame ends up driving us around the block a little bit. Trying not to garner too much attention, but start to lay it out. So, ladies, right now, we need to keep an eye on this individual. I also need to know who they're talking to and what it might be about. Lets me know about the air goings on, and if they're telling people something that they shouldn't know about. Think of it as doing our due diligence for the Camarilla. And who knows, you might end up getting a little bit of exercise out of it. Or a meal. Ends up looking at Julie.
Jordan pipes up. So this is kind of a stakeout.
Something like that. I just want to end up knowing on what they're going in for. I'm going to take a quick look. And if anything goes wrong, then you're here. And if nothing goes wrong, then you get an opportunity to maybe get a peek at who you're dealing with. And then we can start seeing what you two can do outside of the usual the usual. Thinks about back when they first met. But you had to chase them down due to the fact that they were leaving in an appalling mess, hacking people to pieces due to the fact that one of them turns out to be an organivore, can only subsist after eating the blood-rich organs of a human being, or, barring that, maybe enough flesh en masse to be more than concerning.
So we just wait here for you to come back. Julie says with a bit more of a kind of a chipper attitude.
There we go. There's that can-do attitude. So, with that in mind, I'm going to see what's in the house. I'm going to see if they're home. I'm going to see what else I can get. And who knows, we might have a little bit of fun nevertheless. So, you guys stay put. Unless one of you thinks you're able to keep up. Any takers?
You're the one who's light on your feet, Madame
Don't
says
you
from the
forget
front.
it. And don't you forget it. So he waits, and after it's clear that the twins are not going to contest him on this, he's going to then end up starting his usual routine. It's the usual cycle that he usually does for feeding, but this time with the added benefit of actually getting some interesting need-to-know information.
Okay. So, to determine whether they are indeed home or not, as it might not be apparent at the given moment, go ahead and make me a Witson investigation.
Wits investigation. Not a terrible pool, not a great pool. And cat's knocking stuff over again. No.
Your cat's are menaces that way. Ooh.
Hey, that works. I'll
Hey,
take it. 3.
3 is enough. There's not a car outside, so that's why it maybe threw you off just a little bit. But when you kind of start your beginning rounds, kind of surveying the house a little bit from a little bit of a distance, you do see that there is a light on in one of the rooms toward the back of the house. The kitchen, maybe? If it's a rather standard house, you know, the living room in the front, the kitchen in the back, it makes sense. The person might be cooking a late night meal, or some other kind of...
Dinner's preparing dinner. Got it.
Yeah. A weird sentence to think about, but...
Not inaccurate.
Not inaccurate. And so you wait a few moments to see if that particular light goes out, and eventually it does after a few moments, where another light turns on in the room upstairs, where you imagine that they are settling themselves in for the remainder of the evening to eat dinner, maybe depression scroll through some social media or some such, and then go to bed. Not unusual for this late at night, given that people carry all hours of the evening to themselves. Anything else you're going to do while you are patiently waiting for the lull of your soon-to-be victim to go to sleep?
I'm keeping an eye out for neighbors who might be awake, who might be asleep, who might be working late nights. I'm studying any kind of systems that might be going. After all, this isn't a familiar house, though that's never stopped me before.
You see some front porch lights on. Not unusual. It's suburban Dallas. People keep their front porch lights on for security measures, to provide light to their little doorbell cameras.
Ain't that how it always is?
But doorbell cameras does mean that if you're not careful, you might get spotted in somebody's little device, maybe from a distance, maybe a silhouette, maybe something to keep in mind.
Not too worried about it, but definitely will end up keeping it in mind. I am going to be starting my approach,
Okay.
which is my standard feeding roll, if I recall. Because this is exactly how I feed.
Dexterity and stealth. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Three's pretty bog standard. But I'm gonna push it.
Given that you have 9 dice to that pool.
I have 9 dice and 3 successes. So yeah, but this is how much dice I need in order for Derek dice not to kick in. Now we managed to end up making it 12 dice, and I got 4 successes. So Derek dice rule is still in full effect. But 4 should be enough.
Okay. You feel like you'd be able to slip in without any consequences going into the house, but you might not have a whole lot of time if you don't do this perfectly. Not enough time to really get a good feed in. So there's that. But maybe enough time to snoop around the house and the downstairs section at least anyways.
It's a shame that this has to be time sensitive, but for whatever reason, I'm not going to argue it. Let's see here. So, very first things we end up needing to do, we need to end up seeing. Well, see if we can get close enough to get to the phone. Business cards, anything the usual. No ways to end up. It'd be hilarious if they left an itinerary, but I very much doubt that. On the plus side, I can end up finding out little things. For instance, maybe noticing what's in the recycling bin or what's in the garbage. See where they might end up ordering food from, or where they might go out to eat, or where they like to end up getting their Starbucks just before they end up coming home, or who knows. Whole bunch in the car, whole bunch in the trash can, whatever I can end up finding useful. Okay. Specifically, I'm looking for who they're contacting and bits about their daily and close to night routine.
Okay.
Give the twins something to work with.
Okay. Then I would like another wits investigation, this time inside the house.
Okay. This one I am willing to rouse. I'm going to get hungrier after this roll.
A little bit hungrier. Makes you hungry to get nosy.
Yep. And I'm going to willpower reroll that because I can. And Dark Dice is still in full effect.
You start snooping around, looking primarily for people they get in contact with and mostly their daily routine. Daily routine, from what you understand, given that this person works in the medical field, it makes sense that they would toss off their scrubs as soon as they walk in the house. Just kind of a pile of them have started to accumulate, maybe laundry days approaching. You don't see a lot in the way of takeout boxes, but they do seem to have a favorite breakfast. And maybe favorite dinner. Well, maybe they eat it more than once a day. But little...
shows consistency.
Little microwave dinners that you find at the grocery store of varying flavors. All of them poor quality. All of them shitty. But it gets the job done.
I take a few photos with my camera to just try and end up getting all this information down.
Okay.
Don't have enough time to feed, but definitely have enough time to end up grabbing maybe one of those photos on the side, that kind of thing that is like on the maybe a photo off the side of the fridge, the one where you took all those old photos of yourself with your relatives that you don't really pay too much attention to. It's just a way to put them up without them being in the way, that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, this person might also, though, be a little less inclined to do so, as there's really one magnet on the fridge, and that magnet is to an oil change place down the road. There isn't really much in the way of decor around this place except for what's practical. Things to hang maybe a purse, or maybe hang a set of keys, a a a bookshelf that barely has any books in it, has barely anything in it at all. It only serves to sit by the door, be the place where there is a bowl to put loose change and maybe other trash. That other trash being receipts of all kinds. When
The receipts themselves are like in a pile or just in trash, and he's not going to miss them.
they're just kind of in this kind of, not really a trash can. It's just more like a catch-all dish bowl. It's not very deep. It's not terribly big, but if a receipt went missing, it probably would get noticed because there's a pile of change underneath it.
Fair. But I can read the receipts. Correct?
Do you want to actually take one into your hand, or do you want to just observe it from where you are?
I want to observe from where I am.
Okay.
Because if this is a place that is frequented, that gives a chance for an opportune encounter. Perhaps for one of the twins to be able to end up making a move.
It's for a gas station up the street. They put $10 in their gas tank today.
Only 10. Wow. That's unfortunate. Well, if that's the case, I am going to get the hell out of the house, lock it up as I leave.
Need another dexterity stealth.
Yep.
Ooh,
Hey,
that's better. Ooh, that's a crit, actually.
Okay.
That's a 7 on a crit. Maybe you just feel that little bit proud. Maybe that sense of pride just kind of makes you feel more capable. And you feel a lot better about your exit than you did about your entry.
Okay. So, as I exit, now you've led me to believe this is a little bit more suburban area, right?
Your whole domain is.
In which case, what I'm expecting is, and given how hot Texas gets, I'm also expecting maybe a sprinkler, or I'm looking for access to a garden hose.
There is, uh, there is a garden, like an outdoor faucet on the house. This person doesn't look like they keep up their yard all that much. Maybe their HOA is getting on them about that.
Maybe, but I need a tube.
High or low? Let's see if there's a garden hose attached.
High. It's gonna roll low, but I'm gonna say high.
Okay. Oh, low it is.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So you see the outdoor faucet. You don't see a garden hose in their yard, though.
All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get back to the car.
Okay.
Step in. This is gonna be menial. So give the twins something to do.
Okay.
When I get back in the car, sit down. Clearly frustrated. All right. So, ladies, I'm gonna have to ask you to do something, and you're going to end up either being upset with me or you're going to end up enjoying it. I'm not sure which. I need you two to come back here by the end of before the night's out. You're going to want to siphon most of the gas out of that gas tank right over there. Not all of it, most of it.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to siphon gas.
Honey, you stick a piece of hose into a gas tank. You suck on the other end till gas comes out, and then pour it into another container. Do not spill it all over the place. You can't know that he's getting robbed.
Got it.
Okay. Once you do that, the next night, I want you two to be ready at the gas station and he mentions where the location is. You're going to be hanging around there. You are going to be waiting till that car shows up. And then you're going to make your move. You two are going to end up being interested in this individual. And they're only going to end up having a little bit of time for you. But the fact that if you two work together and not end up eating him, you might get a little bit closer. I want to know everything you can pull from this person. I want you to get involved with their life a little bit. Make things a little bit easier. Be the moon of their eye when the sun goes down. After all, they work really hard. He pulls out one of the scrubs from the pile that he acquiesced earlier on because you described it as something that wouldn't be missed.
The clothing? The clothing would be missed.
Okay. Alright. Never mind. I'm going to scrap that then. You're going to want to end up getting in close. You're going to want to... I want to know who they're talking to. I want to know how loose-lipped they are. And I want to know if they've seen anything of particular note.
What counts as particular note?
Do they know about fuck-mothering vampires, dear? Please do try and keep up.
Oh. You can see you can see in the front seat that Madame is kind of rolling her eyes just a little bit.
First tradition. Maintain the masquerade. The kind shouldn't know that we exist, right?
Right.
Now, we don't want to just make people disappear without due cause, because that causes unknown concern, and we already know that it's hard enough to feed in here without people getting a little bit more paranoid and start evacuating because there's an epidemic of missing people going around. That's what we're trying to avoid. So it's a little bit of a delicate situation.
They just nod.
So I need to know, are we on the right track or are we in the clear? You two aren't particularly active. That's to your benefit.
All right. I think.
Is there any complications that I need to be worried of, or anything I might need to explain?
I think we can manage from there, Jordan says.
Jordan, given how you're here going, I want Julie to be taking point on this. You're there if anything goes wrong, and no, that's not incentive to make things go wrong. I don't need another headache tonight. But if you pull this off, we'll see on how things go. Now, that being said, get to know the neighborhood. He pulls out a 20 that he ended up taking from another break-in. That'll be enough to end up getting you home. Start scouting the neighborhood out, get familiar with the place. And above all else, first tradition.
They both nod and then proceed to get out of the car.
Kisses. So, he closes the door once they start driving. Once he feels he's well enough away, and the engine will probably muffle any noise he would be making if they tried to listen in. So, do you think he can take her?
Do I think I can take her? Which one?
Mrs. Dark, chock full of vinegar and unable to end up eliciting so much as a smile. Looks at you more like a snack than anything else.
I have my skills.
Good. Because if anything goes wrong, on their part, we're gonna have to do some cover-up. And if that happens, well, I think you always did feel more like a rose to me after all.
Me, a rose?
It's an option that's on the table.
I don't know what it is that you can possibly mean by that. There's no way.
Well, we make do with the options we have. And unless you have some way for me to suddenly get embracing rights in the next few minutes, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
And I am the half vampire child of a ministry member, so... Besides, why send the amateurs and not a professional?
Because they are amateurs.
Expendable, maybe.
Expendable, no. I'm not in that position. What I am in the position for is finding out if this individual does know something or knows anything close to what I'm worried about, then they'll be able to spot what's going on pretty quick. Which is good, because then we know exactly what we're dealing with. But if they can't figure those two out, pretty good to make them in the clear, doesn't it?
Now, when you say in the clear, is that a euphemism for something?
It means we're not dealing with a hunter. We're dealing with, at worst, somebody who might have just seen something that can be explained away. But if we're dealing with a hunter...
And you suspect that this person, she looks at the house that you just passed, is a hunter.
Or in close proximity to one. Honestly, I don't think much of them, but...
Neither do I. And that's just based on the exterior of the home. Sure,
books and covers, my dear. Books and covers.
True. But that house just... I don't know. Just kind of screams at me. Is making it. Maybe not well, maybe not opulent, but enough. No,
Honey,
what you're
you're one to talk.
what you're
Let's
looking.
be real. But when we look at you, you're this pretty little thing with long flowing hair and skin immaculately pale. But reality is when the guy wants to get inside you, he's expecting a slip and slide, and what he's actually sticking into is dried jerky.
No, well, more along the lines of when they come to me, they're looking for quite the opposite, actually.
You know what I mean. What's presented versus what's real. Reminds me of my first boyfriend. I had to do a lot of spitting. But
Doesn't seem desperate enough.
I'd rather not end up thinking of desperation at this point. Till then, I gotta report back in.
The reasons that someone would become a hunter is either they're desperate or they've seen something so traumatic that there's no coming back.
Well, let's not rule it out. I don't want to make anything off of assumptions.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, one of the twins loses it and ends up calling saying they're going to need a help with the cleanup. Which would be disappointing, but not the worst result. I'm sure we're both in agreement. No, right now, I gotta figure out a way to get into court that doesn't arise suspicion.
In the court.
By now, there has probably been some discussions about the explosion that happened recently. I want to catch the vibe. And then I want to end up knowing on what everybody's seeing when it comes to Keller.
To the whole
Who knew?
coterie came to.
Primogen. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking if that's finally what was decided.
When it comes to Keller, I'm always going to be gunning for him. One of two things are going to happen. Either he's going to be removed from the city or he is going to be ash. Either way, he stands between me and what's mine.
I'd hate to see that you. I hate to see when you're unhappy that your things have been taken away.
Well, I imagine the best part about being dead is the fact that you suddenly end up gaining a lot of patience. But I really want to get back to where I belong. Even if it is in this shithole.
Top Gun. Or the brains of the operation.
I don't ask for the whole pie, just my slice. Besides, this little city belongs to the Nosferatu, and I gotta do my part.
Long live Prince Warsi.
My thoughts exactly. And he runs back, just enjoying the ride as he's heading back. Report on in.
I think that is where we are going to call the session for tonight. Seems as good a place as any. Thank you guys so much for playing. I had my full cast today. Yay!
Yeehaw.
And also thanks to
Good
the
episode.
Raiders from Enchanting Sorcery. Thank you guys so much for coming in and for the follows that you guys gave us. We appreciate it. I generally
Thank you, everyone.
generally speaking, I don't interact with the chat a whole lot during a show until after we called it. But yeah, thanks guys for coming in, because we appreciate it. We don't get a whole lot of viewers, but we love those who come by. But yeah, thanks to everybody who played today, my 4 players. We've got the audience poll up for who the audience enjoyed the most when it comes to tonight's session. So go ahead and get your votes in while the rest of us deliberate amongst the cast as to who had the best in the way of roleplay prompts. So everybody gets their 1 for showing up. Woo!
Yay. Participation trophy.
Yay! You participate, you level up. Let's go. That's how I roll. But there's some roleplay prompts, like I said. So who moved our plot today? There was a lot of plot moving today, but who did it the most? Or the
You're
best?
muted again, Derek.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Said like a true venture. So I am thinking that it's got to be Resner. Resner gets plot over for tonight.
Ah.
He's doing a lot of the wheeling and dealing, I'd have to agree.
Yep.
I agree.
There was a lot of that going on today.
Yeah, you get Ventru. This is how it is.
You ventured today.
I have made mistakes in creating this character.
You have ventured, and I appreciate that you were like, okay, so can I roll for a thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not smart enough to know what shit's going on, but he's a fucking Ventru. He is.
He's smart and he's charismatic, and he's a pretty good dude. Well, I mean, he has altruistic intentions. His methods might be a little wonk.
I will be
nobody's
honest.
perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
The true bold scene. He's so excited for him. So
Yep.
I was spamming chat.
Yeah.
For which scene?
Venture board.
Oh god, I was like, I knew it was coming up. I did not want to show up tonight. Like, I don't want to do it.
He was so worried. You did good. It's fine.
I wasn't gonna give you much of anything that you couldn't really handle yourself, so
I
you
know, but I didn't know that.
I put you at the end of the table where you got to sit with the big kids, and that's fine. The adults asked you some questions, and then they were done.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I'll sit there and eat my gummy bears, drink my juice box,
And your
shut the
Cheerios.
fuck up. Yeah.
You were a big kid today. But that is in character Dorian's first real board meeting. So
Yeah.
Dorian got his feet wet in the Venture circles. Now, it wasn't everyone else at the tables first, but it was Dorian's first.
It was a
Yeah.
really nice reminder too that Dorian is still a baby, and he's already
Oh.
capable of
Yeah.
what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Yep, I did also enjoy him asking advice of his of his sire to find out Well, is that really good?
Unfortunately, for best scene, I can't agree with it. I gotta give it to Specs.
Yep.
Specifically for that whole bit with Cash. Or more
Oh my
specifically,
God.
Cash's corpse.
Yeah, that was best scene.
As we're observing this, right? Part of me is horrified at the idea that, like, I can't see Cash's face, but I know that's Cash. Why is he dead? He was supposed to get out. Why does my sire have him? And in this most sincere of scenes, in this very heavy scene, I go from emotionally there with him to suddenly the invasive spot of as Cash gets up and starts to move, all I can hear is creepy, spooky skeletons.
The most invasive thought.
Aaron, you
Like,
got
that's the only way this can get worse for him. It's like, I can make him do anything. Watch, we'll make him dance. Do the skeleton dance.
Oh
They're
god.
like,
It's like
it's my friend!
more like cousin.
Sorry.
Yeah. Aaron, you
That's
got
my
the
friend
audience
and
favorite
cousin.
today.
oh yay.
The audience apparently loved that scene too. They weren't getting the spooky, scary skeleton song, but they got everything else.
They got the sad feeling of losing your friend and only seeing his corpse walk around.
I think I'm in heavy cope at this point. My brain is trying to like do screwed up associations, just trying to make me internally laugh, and it's just getting darker and darker with each attempt.
It's okay. It's okay, Derek.
It's okay, Derek. Just
drink
let it
your
go.
copium.
Just let it go.
Drink your copium.
Look at it this
Drink
way.
your copium.
Just treat him like you treat your cat. The last thing you saw as he walked away was his asshole, and that's the forever etched in your mind.
I don't think that helps.
I don't think it does either.
Well, I think that's a unanimous vote for the best scene when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our best line.
Fuck mothering vampires immediately took me back to Helsing ultimately.
Yeah. It's okay for me.
Fuck
It's either
vampires.
that. It's either, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it's like it's either that or that's why he didn't want the shirts. They're not red and green.
Oh god.
That's fantastic.
God damn it.
Fucking hell. It's the fuck mothering vampires that wins for me.
Yeah, okay,
I
it's
just
in
said,
Helsing
yeah.
Ultimate
Helsing.
quote. That always win.
I mean,
It doesn't always win. I'm
It does for me.
Playing a VtM game, it's like an instant winner. It's like when you draw in Cards Against Humanity, the biggest blackest dick. Like, it's an instant winner, no matter what it is.
it is a
Or like
zinger.
if Radagast is playing Joseph Stalin.
It's Twitch. I don't think we need to end up starting to discuss Cards Against Humanity unless we start playing with TOS issues.
Nah, let's not. Let's not borderline TOS my channel.
All right.
Let's not do that.
Acceptable. But yeah, I'm content. Fuck mothering vampires.
All right,
So,
fuck mother and vampires. That is. Treek.
Yay!
Yay! Woo! Well,
Drake suddenly for a second there became Alucard. It was great.
beautiful.
Look, I try my best not to make too many references, or usually if I'm going to make a reference, I'm going to slide it in, like, just...
Make it make sense too.
If you know, but that just felt like a good time, because normally I play really serious characters, not like overtly snide ones like Shriek.
Shriek is snide and goofy and fun and just all over is just like, breath of fresh air. We love him.
Listen, Shriek, go for a walk.
I was gonna say, if Shriek ever says, I'm going for a walk, Alex is immediately concerned. um,
Hold on, which one of us is the big titty police girl? I think it might be me, because like I got success.
Well, nobody can see
It's
you
either
on
me or
camera right
Aaron.
now, so.
Okay.
But
I believe I have an expenditure as well.
What you gonna
I
buy?
do too.
I am
What you
sitting-
buying?
I am sitting on 26 experience right now.
What you selling?
I am selling 25 of those experience, if memory serves, to bring dexterity up to 5.
Oh, I thought you were going to buy a new
Woohoo.
personality.
It is indeed 5 times new level. Yes.
But that
what's the cost?
Dex
That
5.
ends up giving me a 10 dice pool, so now I just need to boost up stealth up to 5, and then I'll officially be okay for feeding rolls from here on in. Or at least, have a fighting chance to maintain being fed.
We need to like do some kind of like exorcism on you, man, because them Derek dice be a real.
I
Oh,
need 3
dude.
successes, so I need 20 dice.
Joke, unless you've been around me long enough, and then eventually it's like, yeah, that's how Derek has to overcome the freaking curses, just by stupid weighted dice.
Wasn't it like a Warhammer game that you had like 50 dice to roll and you rolled 2 successes?
Okay, hold on. Let me do the math here. It was 96 attacks because it was Ormagants on the charge. They have 2 attacks apiece plus 1 for the charge. So with a full unit of 32, crashes into a unit of Terminators. So 3 attacks, 96. And I have to end up getting a 4 plus to wound. So that should be half, right?
Average.
Or half to hit, then half to wound is how I had them calculate these. They had the strength bonus and all that. And when I did that, I only landed like something like
2 or 3 hits, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 or 3 hits. Like probably was closer to 5. But then he saves every wound. And it's like, this is insane.
God.
I literally spent more time rolling dice
Than
in
actually
that one
calculating
attack than I did the rest of
successes.
the game. Yeah,
That happened to me Saturday, Derek.
Well, we can talk all sorts of Warhammer after the show, but thank you guys so much, very much for playing, and of course all those of you out there at Twitch. We love that you come and watch us live because that's where all of this magic happens. If somehow you have discovered us on YouTube and you're not following us live on Twitch, you should. And the vice versa is also true. If you're not subscribed to YouTube, you should subscribe to YouTube. Because I want to start... I post the long form VODs, of course, but I also want to start doing some other things, maybe some things that the community wants, like clips or like clip comps or something like that. So, clip to your heart's desire, if you so like. But you can only do that on Twitch, I think. But YouTube does not allow me to do that. So, with that being said, it is time for us to say goodnight. So, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.